Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Day 4, I think, of the new series, E-Bike Riders. Our story today is about a gentleman named Jim, another 60, 65-year-old male, either partially retired or retiring. He not out of shape or overweight, maybe on his way. But it's a story of how he actually bought a bike online, ended up returning it or selling it at a loss, and then purchasing one from us. So him and his wife had come in, and I'd helped them out and shown them around. And we're not perfect. I mean, we don't have bikes for every single different price point. So they were really interested in spending around that $12, $13, $1,400 price mark just to get into the market. So they ended up actually getting one for his wife. They got the Magnum UI5, which 36-volt bike, $12.99 for the sale price of that at the time. So that was a pretty good deal. And then we didn't have anything for him around that price point, so ended up buying a Rad City, I believe, online. And just he would come by the shop and just complain about how he didn't like it. His wife was having so much fun on hers, and it just wasn't going well for him for a number of reasons that we found out. But anyways, he ended up selling it to, I think, his daughter's friend or something like that. Took a loss on it. E-bikes have been super popular lately. It was not a worry to get rid of it, but did lose some money on it. But that's okay. So then he came back and reopened the conversation with us. It was easier this time because they had been riding a little bit and really were starting to get the bug and wanting to start riding more. So we were able to show him around, started the conversation the same way we do every conversation. There's two dramatically different types of electric bikes. On one side you have the rear hub motors, which give you, a lot of raw power. You're able to run that bike using nothing but 100% electric assist, using the throttle if that's what you want. And the pedal assist will allow you to get a lot out of the bike while putting relatively little in yourself, again, if that's what you want. The mid-drive motors, when the motor's in the middle of the frame between the pedals, between the cranks, that is a much more authentic cycling experience. So that motor is going to amplify your pedal stroke. It's not going to do everything for you, but it's going to give you a very natural cycling experience. If you're used to cycling, you like that pushing on the pedal sensation, like getting that little bit of exercise, then that is what that bike offers, what that type of motor offers for you in terms of an experience. So had him try one of each. His wife has a rear hub cadence sensing motor, so he was okay with either. Sometimes we like to keep couples together on the same type of bike, just so that they are able to travel together, same distance, same speed, etc., have the similar experience, so they're able to share and learn from each other's experiences. We had him try a few different bikes, and what we found actually is that he really liked the cruiser position. So he really liked when the seat tube angle was leaned back like this and the pedals were out in front of him. The Magnum Cruiser is really cool. It's got that seat tube angle, and then the pedals themselves are actually spaced about 6 to 8 inches in front of where the seat tube hits the frame at the bottom where the crank is normally. So they've actually moved that. They separated that and moved it out in front, so you even get more of that forward cycling experience. Traditionally on a bike like that, we would see the handlebars coming back towards you. Maybe set like an Elux Malibu or an Electra Townie is a popular model where those bars kind of come back towards you. On the Magnum, it's pretty cool because they have the straight bars with a big rise profile, but they are straight. They don't wrap back towards you. So some people don't like that ride posture with the handles out to the side like that. Maybe they're used to motorcycling or regular pedal biking on a hybrid or mountain bike or something like that, and they kind of just like when their wrists are straight in front of them like that. So this bike gives you a bit of a chopper feel. You're sitting low because you're pedaling out in front of you, so your seat doesn't have to be as high off the ground, and then your hands are up, nice and high. It's a very comfortable ride posture, especially in the short term. With cruisers, the longer you're on them, it's like sitting on a sofa. The more you start to move around, the more uncomfortable it becomes. So, but in the immediate, first 35 to an hour, you're quite comfortable. 35 minutes to an hour. So that was one of the main reasons he didn't like his Rad City, was because it was on top of the pedals. The seat tube angle was quite vertical, and he was pedaling down, leaning a little bit forward, a little bit cramped. He has a big torso, a long torso, so he felt a little bit cramped on it. Was one of the big things. The rear wheel spokes were making a lot of noise just because he's a little bit of a heavier guy, and so. Yeah, we got him out on the Magnum Cruiser. Again, it was that ride posture that he really liked. This bike has, phenomenal electric features for the price. 48-volt motor, 500-watt, 13-amp-hour battery. So really, really nice stock kind of electric components there. And then hydraulic disc brakes, which, again, for me are pretty essential. The extra weight that he has, he's not an overly big guy. I'd say probably 200, 210 maybe, maybe a little bit heavier. He needs that stopping power, that stopping force that hydraulic disc brakes get you. The mechanical disc brakes might work really well, first couple rides right out of the box. Unless you're learning how to maintain them yourself, you're going to start losing a lot of that braking power. Even right out of the box, they don't have as much braking power as hydraulic does. It's just a function of the mechanics of how those work. The great thing about the hydraulic disc brakes is that you have a center. The rotor is centered, and then the disc brake pads, the caliper with the pads sit on either side, and then the fluid actually moves both pads, and then they compress in together. So you're getting this nice sandwich effect of, the rotor staying straight and the brake pads hitting evenly and forcefully from both sides, similar in a car or motorcycle. The downside of a mechanical disc brake is that the inboard pad, the one on the inside of the brake caliper, is stationary, and the outside pad is the one that moves based on that cable. And so the rotor is sitting in between there, and the outboard pad it hits that disc brake rotor and pushes it over to that stationary inboard pad. That gets the rotor to start bending a little bit. It's also only creating force here, and then only that one is pushing, and you're pulling from a mechanical cable, and it's not pushing. So it's a lot better braking power and braking experience on the hydraulic disc brakes. The nice thing too is that those pads recenter themselves on the hydraulic system every time. And so as you start wearing down on the brake pad life, the material starts getting smaller. Your braking experience up at the lever stays the same. So you only ever have to maintenance those brakes when the brake pads are worn out. Whereas on the mechanical disc brakes, when the brake pad starts going down, the positioning of those pads, the inboard is set. You can adjust it with a 5mm Allen key on this side, but that most of the time you're not gonna do that. The outboard pad, its tension is set by the cable tension up to the lever, and so holding that constant, unless you're adjusting it or maintaining it, as you wear out the brake pad material, that it now takes more pull for that outboard pad to come and hit that rotor, and then it also requires more pull to push that rotor over to the inboard pad, because both have just millimeters of material now wearing off of them, but the tension has remained constant. The service interval on mechanical disc brakes is every 90 miles, so keep that in mind when considering how often you're going to be riding. Some of our customers ride 90 miles in 2 days, 3 days. I'd say most in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 90 miles. So you're going to be either learning how to maintain that yourself, or finding a service provider to be able to do that for you. And if you're doing that, then you got to consider the extra costs involved. So, this Magnum Cruiser for Jim was $1,000 more, $2,250. $2,249 is the sale price of the Magnum Cruiser. The Rad City, I think, was $1,299, so $1,950 more. Already, enjoying his experience more, because he's gotten the right type of ride profile for him, which is super important. Hydraulic disc brakes, included maintenance from a local bike shop, us. So already he's saved quite a bit of money and gotten a lot better value. He was already looking at bringing that Rad City bike in. He'd only owned it a month, looking at coming in for $110 or $135 tune-up after a month. So, it doesn't take many of those to start getting really close to the price of a Magnum Cruiser, let alone if something ever does go wrong. So, able to come back to a local bike shop to be able to implement the warranty if that ever does happen. So those are some of the big reasons, that I love helping people get educated about electric bikes. I think that's a big goal, really what I'd like to focus on with maybe not this series, but where I'm looking to go from here, after kind of developing my voice and learning how to use this medium, is to start helping e-bike beginners get educated on e-bikes, because there's really only a few main elements to understanding what an electric bike is. I touched on a few of them today. The difference between the two types of motors, the difference between the ride postures. So are you on top of the bike or relaxed? And then there's, the difference between mechanical and hydraulic disc brakes. If I had to add a couple more, I'd say, like, what's the difference between the different price points of bicycles, and, power and range from the battery. Those are really the most important ones. And if you get your head wrapped around those key concepts, those are the different types of features that bikes offer. You're able to, if you know what the features are and understand what benefits they give you, then you're able to look at a bike and quickly identify, oh, that would give me this type of riding. That would be good if I wanted to ride this way. So all you have to do is think about, how you want to ride, where you're going to ride, and how often you're going to ride. And from there, don't get, hopefully you won't get bogged down in the mass amount of information out there, often confusing and misleading information, especially if you're shopping online electric bikes from the online bike companies. They're able to claim benefits really easily because it's a new technology and we don't quite understand, what each feature is really going to give us. So got to be careful of that, and that's why I love the idea of getting people educated up front. Then they're able to make a better purchasing decision for them. They're able to get a better e-bike for them, and then from there you've got all the tools and ability to become an avid e-biker, which, as I talked about before, is the big picture. Getting people to be avid e-cyclists so that they can change their lifestyle. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it as always. Looking forward to continuing this journey, and yeah, be well. Thanks.